Happy Friday. So I was coming on to just share a little bit of general information. If you've been painting, you already know these type of things. But if you are new and trying to learn about air dry painting, one of the things that I do when I air dry paint is I wash the kit, then I alcohol the kit down for just cleansing it, making sure I got all the oils off of it. And then I varnish the kit. And there are a lot of different types of varnishes out there. I use matte varnish. Um, you don't want to use a glossy varnish because you don't want your kit shining. So I find the matte varnish that I think works best for me. And then those are the steps. Once I varnish the kit, so I just varnished this entire kit, all the limbs and the head and the face, everything, all in the nooks and crannies and everything. And then I'm going to let this dry so that the kit can allow the varnish to settle in the pores of the kit. So you can see my plate of varnish. I have my plate of varnish. And then over here I have the tweezers where I pluck these sponges. I use those 4 sponges to pounce the varnish into my kit. And then you'll notice I have like this brush plus all these brushes. So you need like different size brushes. You need brushes to help dry your kit. You need brushes to get into the creases of the kit. You don't want liquid, whether it's varnish or paint, to pool in the creases. You want to dry those. So just how you take a part of your kit and you pounce it dry. And if you give me a second, I'll show you. Okay, so I have this limb. And if I put varnish on it, I'm going to pounce it dry. I may take a brush where I can't, get and pounce dry. I may take a different size brush to get in closer to the creases where I can't reach with one size brush. I can reach it with this size brush. So that's why you need different size brushes. And when you get to the little parts of the body, like the feet and the hands, you're going to need to get into these little crevices, especially in between the toes, and you're going to want to make sure that your surfaces are dry. Now, even though you pat and pounce them dry and all of that, you still want to allow your kit the time to absorb the what you're putting on it. So I give my kit time to fully dry and take in. In some areas I go over them multiple times, like the nose area, the forearms, certain parts of the legs and thighs. I will probably do them a couple more times because sometimes the kit doesn't readily receive it. But if you do it a couple of layers of the varnish, then you usually don't have issues with the painting. But if you do like one layer of varnish and just like don't ensure that you got the entire kit, you can start to have problems later where you will paint multiple layers, and then when you get to like a certain layer, you can start to see where your paint did not take, and by then it's kind of too late because you can't go back and make up all of those layers. You're usually like deep in when you figure out, oh my god, all this time this hasn't been taking paint. So maybe those tips are helpful to somebody. Oh, and I use distilled water. I do not use tap water because remember, our water has chemicals and stuff in it, and you're trying to use materials that are going to help paint stay on your kit and work for longevity of the work that you're going to put in. So, all right, have a great evening. And I wanted to come back and say a couple more things. So the one thing to remember about air dry paint is that it's air drying, hence the name. And that means that you need to be able to move very quickly. You don't want to do air dry paint if you can't keep up with the time. And so I'm going to say this about that too. It's not so much as keeping up with the time that you put your chemicals on to your baby, whether it's the varnish or the paint or skin texture or whatever it is you need to get onto the kit to create the vision that you create for the baby. When you're doing air dry paint, it is time sensitive. You can't just put the paint on or the varnish on and walk away from it and be like, oh, I'm going to the bathroom, I'll be back. You need to do all that stuff before you sit down to paint. You want to make sure you tell everybody in your household, hey, I'm painting, please don't interrupt, blah, blah, blah. Because if not, and you leave that paint, it's not gonna, and without pouncing, if you put paint on your kit and you don't pounce it dry, like how you see me working this varnish into the kit, like I'm actually varnishing, putting some extra varnish on this kit. When you're going to do the same procedure when you are painting. If you walk away from your kit while you are painting the kit, the varnish is clear, so you're not going to see that. But you still want to, you know, every little bit is a layer, and it works towards the finished baby. So, you know, don't do your varnish layer any kind of way either, because you don't want chalky looking kits either. You want to pounce that varnish in. You don't want your varnish looking all white and chalky. So take your time and pounce that in. But when you get ready to paint, if you walk off and leave your kit while you're painting it and come back, it's not going to look like skin. It's not going to blend in. So that's the point of these cosmetic wedges and beauty blenders and paint brushes and everything. You're blending in, but there is a time. If this is air drying, that means you only have a certain time before the paint dries and you can no longer have control over how it blends. So you just want to make sure that you are fully invested in the time and what you're trying to get accomplished, because if not, it's not going to look like skin. It's going to look a hot mess. So like how you see me moving very quickly, I don't have a lot of time before this dries, because it is exactly what it says. It is air drying. So as I put it on, the air is sealing it dry. But you want it to look like skin. You want it to look like skin. You want it to blend into your kit, and you want to give time in between layers. You don't want to just keep doing multiple painting layers in one day. You want to step away from your kit for an hour or two, maybe add another layer. Step away from your kit an hour or two, add another layer. Because let me say this, if you put too much paint on there and you haven't seen what it looks like when it's completely dried in, you are going to be sadly upset when you got too much paint. And it's better to have not enough paint and be able to add more. But once you go too far and it's too much paint, or it's, you know, overdone, you can't really go back from that unless you strip it. So or unless you are very good at color correction and you have the skill set of how to do that. The other thing is you want a well lit space, because when you air dry paint, you want to be able to see what's still wet, because you want to get to that in time enough to pounce it dry. So air dry is time sensitive. And so here's the next thing I'm going to tell you, the strategy is don't overpaint. Like, don't paint from the thigh to the toes and you can't keep up with it. Paint a part of the thigh, pounce that in, come back and do another section. Sometimes I do the front of the leg, then I do the side of the leg, then I do the back of the leg, then I move down to the feet and the toes. And I'm going to say this too. Don't just look at my videos and let this be the only video that you look at. You need to get on this app, get on several websites, apps, and you need to, you know, do your due due diligence to research and see what different artists are recommending, and you need to do the one that resonates most with you so that you can be successful. I would say watch multiple videos, take lots of notes, and then craft your own system of how you're going to reborn your baby. And I used to make myself note cards or flashcards, and I had step 1, step 2, all the way to almost like step 9 or 10. And for a long time, I think I still have those cards up here too. And it used to tell me when I was going to do the modeling, when I was going to do the veining, when I was going to add skin tone and all of that stuff, or undertones. I had a step-by-step process, and for a long time I followed those cards. But now I kind of do whatever I'm feeling because I'm used to it. So I think that you need to do a lot of research. Don't follow one person's process, and you got to figure out what works for you to make those babies come to life. You know, yes, you can definitely learn about materials. You can learn about paint, type of brushes. You can learn about, you know, those are some basic things. But in terms of how you're going to bring that baby to life, you kind of develop your own skill set after a while of how you do it, or a variation on a theme, I would say. But I would say my encouragement is to get on here and do what I did, which is figure out whether you want to air dry paint or whether you want to heat set. If you want to heat set, you want to follow those people that talk and teach about heat set. And if you want to do air dry, then you want to follow those people that teach and talk about air dry. And sometimes I would watch heat set videos because I was looking for technique and not how to paint. I was just looking for, let me see what kind of techniques people are using to get the best blending for the skin tone. So it depends on what you're looking for, what kind of information you're looking for. But I would recommend watching multiple tutorials. And this wasn't to me like a tutorial, but I'm just giving some general tips and information. But I would recommend you watch multiple things and take notes and then practice. And then over time, build your own system, write it down. And especially those things that worked well, you want to write those things down until you get it in you to the point where you can just do it without looking and thinking. Like, I don't even pull those cards no more. I know what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do. And sometimes I switch it up. And I'll do multiple layers of veins depending on the skin tone that I create. Or I'll do the veins earlier on and not later. Or sometimes I'll do more than one modeling layer. It depends. It depends on the kit and what I'm trying to bring out in the kit. So hopefully these little talks were helpful. And again, if you want to get into painting, I think you should watch multiple tutorials. And of course, there are people selling courses online. Go on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, of course here, YouTube, and look up air dry painting, reborns. Look up air dry painting, heat set painting, reborns and silicones, and see what you find. And then you gotta take the time to invest in yourself and in your own learning. So with that being said, bye-bye.